hopefully people will join in. But I will warn you, there are 3 dogs here. Currently, well, one of them is right here. Come here. Oh, he's going to be camera shy. He ran from me. He didn't want me to pick him up. He's a little guy. And the other 2, I guess, are by the door guarding the house. So everything is safe. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is remove my glasses first of all. And I didn't really set up my yoga room for this because I knew it would be hard with the 3 dogs. And I wanted to make sure that I did wrist friendly. So I'm going to do this like I did the very first live stream and make it wrist friendly and really just open to anybody who wants to practice yoga. So you don't have to worry about having any special gear or a yoga mat. You can just learn a few things, and that's how I'm going to begin tonight's practice. And if you have foundations of how yoga actually works, it makes the whole process of practicing yoga so much easier. The first thing is grounding. When you want to ground down, you want to imagine that you are just pushing whatever part of your body is in contact with your mat or your floor. You want to imagine that it's really actively pushing down into that surface. And just the act of imagining it and then forcing your feet down like in a standing position, it starts to activate muscles that were not activated when you were just standing there. So it's a great tool to understand that. When I do my yoga flows every week, the Yoga Anywhere flows, I try to remind everyone when I start to have your feet about hip width apart and to imagine that you're digging down into the floor and pushing your feet out at the same time. So when you do that, you should immediately feel like your quads engage, your glutes engage. So it's really very therapeutic for those muscles when we ground down into the mat. Now, when you're in a seated position, it's a little different. It's more an imagination of the act of grounding down. But then you can also try to make sure that your thighs feel heavy so that way it does engage some muscles when you're in a seated position. Now, another thing to keep in mind with yoga is that we don't want to have mechanical moves. We want to try to make them as smooth as possible. For example, with just a simple arm circle, you want it to be flowing, almost like you're in water. And that way, you're not being really rough on your joints. If we were to just whip that arm around and back down, it's not good for our joints. And we really want to increase range of motion. And that way it makes it easier for us just to get out of bed in the morning. As we get older, it gets harder and harder just to get up off the couch. So we want to make sure that yoga helps us become more active and have better range of motion. Another thing is balance. Balance as we grow older is extremely important to try to improve. So when we do little things like a toe stand, it's doing so much more than just frustrating you. It can be frustrating to try to do a toe stand, especially if you have loose slippers on like I do right now. But if you can get up on your toes and hold it for a few minutes, not necessarily minutes, but a few seconds, it's going to make you feel wonderful just to be able to do that simple act of standing up on your toes. And then it helps us connect our brain to the actual process of balancing. And that helps us when we're going up and down stairs, when we're trying to move things from one area of the house to another. Maintaining our balance is something that does go, unfortunately. I don't know where this frog in my throat came from. Went hiking earlier today, so I think with the warmer weather, I got something in my throat. But we want to be able to try to have good balance as we grow older. So toe stand is a great way to do it. Now, another thing when you're trying to do a balance movement that gets to a balancing pose, you really want to suck your navel to your spine. And when you suck your navel to your spine, that gives support to your lower back. And if you can imagine that the motion of going up to a toe stand is originating here in the core, it makes it so much easier to be able to go up and hold and then lower. So we're going to do that a few times. So lift up. Imagine it's coming from your abdominal wall, from your core. And try to hold it. If you focus on something out in front of you, it makes it much easier. And then we'll lower. Now, if you couldn't hold it that long, that's fine. If you drop your feet to the floor, just go right back up into that toe stand. So we're going to go right back up and hold and lower. Now we're going to do it with our arms at our sides. Rise up and back down. Rise up. You should actually feel a difference in the motion when you imagine that it's coming from your core. You'll almost feel like you're puffed up, like a type of bird that puffs up and back down. And puff up and back down. So those are three things that are really important about yoga. Now, there's also great things that happen aside from all of that. We help to improve our circulation. For example, if you interlace your fingers and hold your hands out and then lift them up over your head. I know my camera is not catching all of this. My phone is better for that because I do it in portrait. With landscape cameras, I have to be back pretty far. So I'm going to move back a little bit and raise the camera up a bit, and this might help. So we're going to interlace our fingers, have your feet hip width apart, and ground into the floor like I was talking about at the very beginning. So you want to push your feet down and out at the same time. And with your fingers interlaced, lift them above your head. Now we're still going to have our abdominal wall engaged, so you want to keep your navel sucked to your spine. And then lower. This is going to help with neuropathy. So if you suffer from neuropathy, this is the ticket. Doing a few of these in the morning, maybe stretching from one side to the other. It'll make your blood start flowing a lot better. Now we're going to combine this with a toe stand. So what we want to do is focus on something out in front of you. Suck your navel to your spine. Have your feet grounded when we're in a regular standing position, but you'll have to let go of that when you go up to your toes. So as your arms raise up, go up to your toes and right back down. You should feel all the muscles in your legs engaged. Breathe in as you go up and breathe out as you go down. Hopefully my microphone's not getting stuck in my hair. Now we're going to raise up and back down. Oh, one of them decided to talk. The little one just walked by. Are you going to come over here and get in the camera? Huh? You want to be on live yoga on YouTube? And down. Now, release the bind, wiggle your fingers a little bit. That's a really good combination, just to interlace your fingers and then rise up on your toes. And it's going to help us with circulation and with balance, amazingly enough. Now, we're going to go into a wide-legged forward fold. So I'm going to adjust this camera again. And what we want to do is make sure that our feet are really far apart. You want to ground down to the outside of your feet. So you're not going to have your weight, on the arch. You want it on the outside of your foot. And we're going to place our hands on our waist and pivot or hinging at the hip. I don't know why I said pivot, but hinging at the hip. We're going to lower halfway and then lowering all the way down. Hands on the floor. I'm going to move my feet a little bit farther apart. And you want to reach for the floor with the crown of your head. It may not even come close. That's fine. And we don't want to be putting weight on our wrists or our hands. So make sure that you've got your core engaged to hold yourself up from the floor. Now place your hands back on your waist, rise up halfway, and then up. And there goes one. So I normally do a heel toe, heel toe. At that point, I was afraid one of them was going to knock me over. None of them have actually practiced yoga with me. However, tomorrow's practice for winter solstice, the dog that was with me when I recorded that, she got into it. So she was a doga kind of dog. Now, that incorporated a little bit of balance and inversion, which is great for circulation. So we have a lot going on with each thing that we do. Now we're going to try a tree. Now a tree pose, you can do it any number of ways. You can have your foot on the floor, especially if you're beginning and you haven't practiced yoga very long. Having your foot on the floor allows you to maintain your balance a little bit better. And then as you get used to going into a tree, you can raise it up a little bit. For example, up to your calf. Don't go to the knee joint. You go to the calf or up above the knee. I should take off my slippers for this. And that's what I'm going to do. So when we go up above the knee, you want to push your foot into your leg and then push back with your leg. Suck your navel to your spine, and that helps you maintain your balance a little bit better. Now with these pants, my foot's already sliding down. So wardrobe does help with some poses, but with tree, you can really do an easy tree like this and place your hands on your hips. Or you can raise your hands up over your head. So this is great for balance, for focus, because you want to focus on something out in front of you. Now we're going to switch on the other side. And for having your hands up above your head also helps with circulation. Now we're going to do an easy tree on the other side, or again, you can have your foot on the floor like a little kickstand. We're going to have it up like this. And keep your navel sucked to your spine. That helps us have more support in our torso when we suck our navel in. And of course, it's impossible to get it all the way to your spine. That would be very odd. Now, inversions. We did the wide-legged forward fold, but just a regular forward fold is great as an inversion. And it's also wrist friendly. Now, there's several ways that we can approach it. We can start in volcano pose. So you want to have your hands wide up above your head, your navel sucked in. We're grounding into your floor because we're not on a mat right now. So we've got all of those muscles engaged. Then we're going to lean forward. Now you can have your knees slightly bent or straight. And there's two different ways that it's going to help you. So if you need really good stretch out in your hamstring, having your legs straight is a really good way to do that. If you need more of a lower back stretch, then the more you bend your knees, the more we're getting stretch in the lower back instead of the legs. Then we can place our left hand on the floor, and with our right hand, and as our right hand is raising up to the sky, you would straighten that right leg. This is really good for circulation, balance, and just making you feel better. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. As you lift that left arm, you straighten that left leg. Oh, there's the third dog. So everybody made an appearance. Now we're going to sweep our hands up and over our head and then bring them down into prayer position. So we've gone over the balance, the inversions. Now we're going to go into a little flow. And with this, we're going to do a warrior sequence. And we're going to start in warrior one. So you want to step forward with the right foot first and get a deep bend in that right knee. But the left foot is facing out at an angle. We want to make sure our hips are facing to the front. You'll feel like the right hip will be slightly forward of the left, but you want to try to get it as square as you can. And then lift your arms up and overhead. You can look up at the sky. Now, also, in a way to test it, you want to try to have 4 parts equal standing in your feet. So when you're in a pose like this, if you can lift your toes, then you have 4 parts equal standing, unless your foot's on its side. So make sure your foot's flat, but then test and lift your toes. And if you can lift your toes, then it means that you've got the proper stance. Then we're going to cartwheel that left arm up and back. And now we're in warrior two. Now, when you do warrior two, you really want to reach with your arms. And you'll feel your muscles in your arms engage when you do that. So picture that you're trying to reach beyond any possibility that you could reach it. But just in that process, you're getting a good stretch in your upper back, a good stretch in your shoulders, and you're engaging the muscles in your arms. And of course, our legs are thoroughly engaged. Now we're going to keep that right leg bent, placing our left hand on the small of our back, reaching up first with our right hand and over for peaceful warrior. Then we're going to go back to a warrior two. Straighten that front leg. And now we're going to go into triangle. Now with triangle, this is a bit of an inversion. Well, not a bit of an inversion, it's actually an inversion. But you're also keeping your legs really engaged. So we're still trying to ground down into the floor. and then tilting. So you're not really bending your back at all. You're tilting so that your right hand comes down towards your right foot. But you don't want it to go all the way to the floor. You want it to hover right beside your ankle. And then with your navel sucked to your spine, turn and look up at the sky. And then coming back, and then back to that warrior two. Now we're going to switch it to the other side. So we don't have any fancy motion to be able to go from one side to the other when we're doing standing yoga. So now we're going to step forward with that left foot. And again, the right foot is going to be tilted at an angle and a deep bend in that front knee. Squaring the hips as much as you can, and then reaching up and looking at the sky. Then cartwheeling that right hand back and reaching, really reaching out beyond your fingertips for warrior two. Then place your hand on the small of your back, reach up with that left hand and over for peaceful warrior. Then we're going to reach back out with those hands for warrior two. Straighten that front leg and tilt like a teapot and looking up at the sky. And then coming back up to that warrior two, and then straightening our legs. Now breath work is extremely important. So as we go from one pose to the next, we should be breathing in and breathing out, alternating those in intervals. So for example, when we go into a warrior one from a standing position, you would breathe in as you're reaching up. And then when we go into the warrior two, we would breathe out. Then breathe in as we go into peaceful warrior, and breathe out as we go back into warrior two. So doing that with breath work is going to help to increase blood flow. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Warrior one, breathe in, breathe out for warrior two, breathe in, peaceful warrior, breathe out for that warrior two. Now I'm not throwing in another triangle, but you get the idea that you breathe in with one position, breathe out as you're moving into the other position. So we've gone over a lot of the foundations. If you just joined, go back to the beginning. You can just rewind and you'll understand why grounding into your floor, your mat is so important, and the different things that it gives us. And it helps also with our balance as we go into balance poses. And I was actually able this time to pop out comment sections. So, and I'm hoping that I got more people in here. All right, good. There's a few people. Hi. All right, so yeah, those dogs are not mine. Yeah, they belong to other people. So I have three dogs here this week, and over the following weekend after Christmas, they'll be alternating. So there is going to be one dog going home the day after Christmas, then another one coming on that Saturday, then one of the ones that's here now leaving that Saturday, and then Sunday another one joins the pack. So it's going to be a revolving door of 3 dogs, 3 dogs for the entire time. So, well, thank you that I'm beautiful. Yeah, I tend to just know that I'm old. And as far as private yoga sessions, first of all, I don't have like a Zoom account that allows more than 20 minutes. I think they cut you off. So I don't use Zoom at all. So I won't be offering any private sessions, but the live streams on Friday nights, I might start increasing them because it seems to work out pretty good with everyone's schedule here and with mine. And if I'm unable to, then I'll try to do pre-record a video and upload it for that Friday. And I started practicing yoga as a way to help me with my running. And I didn't start running until after my first grandchild was born. So that's been 15 years ago. And so I was a late bloomer with yoga. And I knew that I needed a little bit of help just with, the muscle issues that you get when you start running. And yoga really helped. Now, I only did one yoga session and I did it repeatedly, and it was one specifically for runners. And I enjoyed it and I got so much out of it that I started practicing regularly. And that, as I've aged, I took my grandkids to Beat the Bomb and realized too late that my knees were not cut out for that kind of escape room. We had to go through lasers, and that meant going above them, in between them, and down below them. And while I thoroughly enjoyed myself and had a ton of fun, and I've been told by so many people I'm such a cool grandma, my knee got messed up and it still pops to this day. And I have not run since that trip to Beat the Bomb, which was it was back in July that we went. So that's quite a few months. So it's almost 5 months now that I have not run. But it's better now. It does still pop, but I'm afraid to run until I know it's fully healed again. So the next time I run, I'll probably run on my treadmill and probably with my knee brace on. So that was a long way to answer that question. But yoga fit into my life so much better than everything else. It didn't rely on good weather. It didn't rely on needing new shoes. And then I started collecting different yoga gear, like my mat. I invested in a really nice mat. But I don't use the blocks and all of those other things. What I'll do for props in yoga, like if you're going to move something when you're in boat position, I just grab a shoe. So I have some sneakers up on my shelf up there, and I use them as props for yoga. And I also use them when I run on my treadmill upstairs. So I've been running for 15 years and practicing yoga regularly for about 10. And I think I'm pretty good at it. And I mean, I can't do advanced things that a lot of the younger yogis do. So there's a lot of poses that I won't even try because weak wrists. I don't have weak wrists, but they're old wrists. uh, but all right, so I think I answered. Do you have any other questions? But I'm glad I was able to get this to pop out because before I didn't even know if there was any comments at all. And I spent a week researching to see if I had even had them activated. And so now at least I know, yes, I do have comments activated. So that's good. But anyway, if you'd like to see more, live streams like this, I can definitely try to do more. Next week would be a members only live stream. I have one member. So I'll do a live stream for that one member. And I might start doing them every Friday. And I'll post if I'm unable to. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this and that you actually followed along and did some of the yoga. And I will see you again in a couple of weeks. But I'm also going to post a poll just to see, if like what people would like to see coming in January, because tomorrow is the last day of the intentions instead of resolutions yoga. So I'd like to get some feedback. But also, please remember, like, subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. And there are memberships now. And right now, with one member, I'm doing limited stuff. So, to that one member, I apologize. I do try to get out some shorts, and I have done, I think, one for the higher level, one workout video for the higher level, the Fit Fam. But yeah, I haven't done much else. But I will be doing the live stream next Friday for that member. So, but anyway, all right. I will see you again soon. Bye.